Gospel according to St. Luke, the 23rd chapter. Please be seated. As a tangible connection to the story, I invite you to hold the palm cross that you received earlier, or the palm branch. As we remember, Jesus was coming into Jerusalem at the Festival of Unleavened Bread. And the scribes and the chief priests were plotting on how they might put Jesus to death. And Satan entered into the heart of Judas Iscariot, one of the 12. And he agreed to betray Jesus for a sum of money. And that evening, as the disciples gathered with Jesus around table to eat the Passover meal, Jesus lifted the bread, and he gave thanks, and he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body given for you. Do this for the remembrance of me." Then he took the cup, and he lifted it up, and he said, "This cup is the covenant in my blood." Then he declared that one of the disciples would betray him, and the disciples began to discuss and argue who that might be. And Peter said, "Lord, I am with you even to prison, even to death." And Jesus said, "Peter, before the cock crows today, you will have denied 3 times that you know me." Now Jesus went out, as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives. And the disciples followed him. And when they came to the place, he said to them, "Now pray that you do not come into the time of trial." And then Jesus went about a stone's throw away, and he knelt down and he prayed, Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but your will be done." Then an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him, and he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling on the ground. And when he came to the disciples, he found that they were asleep because of grief. And he said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Get up. Pray that you will not come into the time of trial." And while he was saying this, a great crowd came. And Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. And he came up to Jesus to kiss him. And Jesus said, "Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" Now all those who were around him asked, "Should we take out our sword?" And one pulled the sword and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. And Jesus said, "Enough. Enough." And he reached down and he touched his ear and he healed him. And then to the chief priests and the officers of the temple police and to the elders that had come for him, he said, "Have you come to me to get me with a sword and with clubs as if I'm a bandit? All this while I have been with you in the temple, and you have not laid your hand on me. But now is your hour and the power of darkness. Now they seized Jesus, and they led him to the house of the high priest. And Peter followed from a distance. And when they had kindled a fire in the courtyard, everybody gathered around, and Peter was among them. And there was a servant girl, seeing his face in the firelight, stared at him. And she said, you were with him. And Peter said, "Woman, I don't even know the man." And then, a little later, someone else, seeing his face, said, "Well, you're one of them." And Peter said, "I am not." And about an hour later, someone else said, "Well, you've got to be one of them because you're a Galilean." And Peter said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And while he was still speaking, the cock crowed, and Jesus looked at Peter. And Peter remembered the words of the Lord, that before the cock crows today, you will deny me 3 times. Deny that you even know me. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. Now the men who were holding Jesus, they beat him, and they mocked him, and they blindfolded him, and they said, "Prophesy, which one of us hit you?" And when it was day, the elders of the people and the chief priests and the scribes gathered together. And they called Jesus in to their council. And they said to him, "Now, if you are the Messiah of God, just tell us." And Jesus said, "If I tell you, you will not believe. And if I question you, you will not answer. But know this. Now, the Son of Man will sit at the right hand of the power of God." And they all asked him together, "So are you the Son of God?" And Jesus said, "So I say." And then they said, we need no more testimony. For we have heard it for ourselves, and we have heard it from our own lips, from his own lips.